This is a review of the book Teach Like a Pirate, written by Dave Burgess. My name is Adrienne Tobin, and I'm a Master's of Art in Teaching elementary education student at North Carolina State University. The premise of this book is to increase student engagement, boost your creativity as an educator, and transform your life as an educator by learning how to be more passionate, creative, and fulfilled in your role as an educator through the use of the pirate method. Some of the main points in this book are directly related to the pirate method, which is P for passion, I for immersion, R for rapport, A for ask and analyze, T for transformation, E for enthusiasm. The book also includes ideas on how to craft lessons to include hobbies that you enjoy as well as your students in order to captivate them, their attention, and keep them engaged. The pirate method is supposed to allow you as an educator to promote excitement within your instruction and in your students' learning to keep them engaged and wanting to continue with their education. So the first talking point is is passion. Essentially, it's how to teach passionately even when you are not passionate about the subject. So there's three different types of passion. One is content passion. So what are you passionate about teaching within the subject matter? Um, the second one is professional passion within your profession, but not specific to the subject matter. What are you passionate about and what drives you as an educator? This one specifically on days when you don't have a passion about the content that you're teaching, it's important that you intentionally focus on your professional passion, which is difficult to do initially, but overall it's extremely rewarding for you and your students. Um, the author suggested the inclusion of life-changing lessons, or LCLs, um, also was beneficial during topics that you're not extremely passionate about because it allows you to transform the lives of students regardless of the content that you're teaching for that day. And then the last one is personal passion, which is obviously completely outside of your profession. It talks about what are you passionate about. And so if your hobbies include hiking, find a way to kind of incorporate that into your lessons and kind of give a life lesson about your passion for hiking and relate it to the subject matter that you're teaching. That way you're more enthusiastic and engaging throughout your lessons. The second one is immersion, which is the ability to give yourself up to the moment and be with your students. Um, the author had suggested that students can sense when a teacher isn't fully engaged. An instructor who fully immerses him or herself in teaching in the moment has a special type of intensity that resonates within the classroom and with the students, regardless of the content and activity. So really immersing yourself with your students or the content that you're teaching helps to keep them engaged. The third one is rapport, which is building a relationship with your students and keeping them engaged in active learning. This just helps to ensure that they behave well and they continue to want to learn. The author suggests spending less time trying to get students interested in the presentation material and more time making connections between what they already are interested in the outside world and the material that you're presenting. So having them kind of make connections to personal passions of their own to the content that they're learning will kind of help them remember more and be more engaged. The next one is ask and analyze. This one is where you become more creative in the classroom and design of your lessons. So the author said that creativity comes from asking the right questions. So the types of questions that we're asking ourselves as teachers determines the type of answers we receive. So if you consistently ask questions that lead to creative thinking, your mind is going to provide you with more creative answers than if you were just asking yourselves bland question that didn't like probe any type of creative thinking. You wouldn't come up with the creative answers that you necessarily want. Um, and so some of the suggestions for this were, if you're teaching something on campus, like where is the best place to teach on campus to deliver this to the class? What tools can I use in my classroom to convey this content better? Which video accurately depicts the message I'm trying to get across to the students, which is also meaningful to them? The quality of the questions really matter. And then rather than asking, how can I make this lesson tolerable for my class, you need to ask, how can I make this lesson extremely entertaining and engaging for my students so that they'll remember it and they'll want to return and build upon the information that they learned today. Transform is the next one, and it's essentially making your class be a standout class for students by making your class be remarkable. He suggests using letter writing, so you as an educator writing a letter to yourself to explain in detail what you want your class to be for your students. That way you have that written down and it's a like site of reference for you rather than just thinking it to yourself. It also helps you hold yourself accountable to ensure that your lessons are meeting that remarkable standard. The quote I have here is you have to have a vision of what your ideal classroom experience looks like if you want to have any hope of creating it. And then two questions that were suggested for raising the bar or the standards. If your students did not have to be there, would you be teaching an empty room? And do you have any lessons you could sell tickets for? So are your lessons that good that your students want to come if they were given the choice and that people will be lining up the door in order to get in to hear your lesson? And he explained that that's something that you should be striving for each and every lesson and subject matter that you teach. The last one is enthusiasm, where you ramp up your enthusiasm within the classroom. You'll be a dramatically better teacher. So two ways to light the fire, as he said, was to act enthusiastic about your teaching and change your state by changing what you focus on. So you make a conscious decision to focus on what empowers you as an educator. So essentially for this one, in order to be more effective, you must be more engaging and build a better lesson with enthusiasm to have your children or your students be more engaged. And then the last thing that he had mentioned were and how to build and craft your lessons to make them more engaging, more appealing, and more better understood for your students. And so he really honed in on the fact that presentation was a big one. So how you present your lessons to your students and how you present your content matter to your students is super important to the actual content itself. He also explained having appropriate transitions from one lesson to the next, as well as using hooks. And so he gave numerous examples of the hooks that you can use. So some of them include movement, so incorporating movement into lessons, dancing or stretching or some type of movement during the lessons, using props, trying to get the class outside whenever possible. So he called that safari. Incorporating art into your lessons, incorporating music into presentations, providing opportunities for students to act out skits or appear in videos during lessons, incorporating crafts and hobbies into lessons. That way students are more engaged because it's something that they are interested in. Show why learning is important in the real world. Show, not just teach the material to teach it and get it over with and hope that the students get enough information and understand it enough to be able to put it towards a test, but making sure that you're relating what they're learning in the classroom to how it pertains to them during the day. Using current events whenever possible, transforming your class into create an atmosphere related to a lesson, writing message that piques curiosity, gaining interest by openly hiding something from the class. So at the start of the class, kind of hiding something, making sure they see you hide something and having them kind of ask those questions, what is it? And you can kind of build up the anticipation of them finding out what this thing is. And then considering yourself part of the class when creating the content and lessons. It's a better way for you to immerse yourself with your students and make sure that you're kind of comprehending things on their level. And then the last two recommendations he suggests are content, making sure that, again, the content is relatable to the students and it's engaging. And then the techniques and methods, so utilizing the above mentioned hooks whenever possible, just so that you can ensure that you're creating lessons that keep your audience, your students, engaged and enthralled and enthusiastic about their learning, and keeping you as a teacher enthusiastic about being an educator and teaching the content material. So two ideas that I really took away from this book were, in order to be a more effective teacher, you must create more engaging lessons and build a better pirate by ensuring you hit your mark and make it to your destination before you set sail. I really thought that was essentially the whole book wrapped up in one sentence. And then teaching like a pirate will allow me to ensure positive student learning while also keeping myself passionate about my work as an educator. Balancing personal passions with professional passions and asking myself questions that will lead to creative answers were two major points that I hope to utilize in my own classroom. And then my last conclusion and my quote that really spoke to me were much of your success as an educator has to do with your attitude towards teaching and kids. The rest of your success is based on your willingness to relentlessly search for what engages students in the classroom and then having the guts to do it.